Well, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Magic, Mystery, and Medicine. And my good friend, friend, Maximilian Wade is here with me. Take two. Because we actually did this conversation a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Only to discover that the technology and the technician were not in sync.
It's a very good way to put it.
Right? Yeah. So we decided we would do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. With everything.
Because last time was so much fun that we thought, why not do it
That's
again?
right. Clearly that's what the universe wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I'm excited to see you again, and I'd love to touch base with just how you're doing at this point. I know you gave a talk. You've been
two actually.
Two talks.
Yeah, two talks.
And have you been in any of the other shows? Have there been any other shows?
No, there hasn't been any shows recently, but I'm really excited for the ones coming up January, February, and then I think the next one would be April or March.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So
You're
there's lots in the pipeline. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk for a few minutes about what it is actually that you do. What is the service, the healing service that you offer people?
Absolutely. So I work as a certified bioenergetic practitioner.
Okay.
Bioenergetics is the study and the correction of energy fields and the flow of energy through any living organism. And in my practice, it is mostly humans that I assess energetically. I'm saying mostly humans because last week I had someone coming in with their dog.
Really?
So every now and then I also bioenergetically assess pets, which is really exciting to see how they respond to energy treatments. But generally I focus on human beings.
Right.
And when they come in to see me, the first thing we do is we use a bioresonance scanner and scan their energy fields. So the scanning process is done with the device rather than just using my hands.
Right.
And the scan takes 10 seconds, so it's very fast. And it picks up all of the energy fields and the flow of energy through the human organism.
Yeah. And it's detailed.
It is very detailed. Yes, absolutely.
Because I had a session with Maximilian a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I could experience what it is that he has to offer everyone. And I was blown away with the amount of detail.
It is pretty incredible. And I love that we not only can focus on the physical body, but we can also go beyond and we can look at the emotions, the trauma that might be present in a person, and even look at their belief systems. And if there's anything spiritually occurring in their life that might be affecting their energetic systems, and then in turn also affect their physical body. So it's a focus of my practice is to draw the connection between what is going on energetically within a person on a non-physical level, especially in regards to emotions and the beliefs they hold about themselves, and how that directly affects their physical body, the organs, and is potentially the root cause for whatever chronic condition or acute condition a person is dealing with.
Yeah, and it taps into the belief and what we know to be true, that an emotional and energetic experience lands out here first in the person's energy field.
Exactly.
And if at the time of the event it is resolved energetically and emotionally, then it doesn't go any farther. It just dissipates into the memory field.
Yeah.
But if in the moment the person is not able to process or integrate or heal the thing that's just happened to them, over a period of time, it slowly moves through all the energy fields and then starts to settle in the physical body. And then that's where we see disease and illness and injury.
Absolutely.
Coming from the body's need to communicate with us. So it's a communication system.
It is. It absolutely is. And the way I often look at the scan and then the assessment, because we can look at every component of the human being in a very detailed visual picture.
Yeah.
As you've seen. And for me, the scan is really the interpreter that speaks the language of your body and your language. So because of the stressful environment that a lot of us live in, we oftentimes forget to remain in touch with our inner self. And that's where the scan and the assessment can come in, because it bridges the gap between you and your body, so you can actually relearn to understand what your body has to tell you.
Right. So it gives you information.
Exactly. It gives you a lot of information, very precise information, and not just information about what is currently happening, but also everything else that has happened in the past that led you to this very moment.
Yeah. So explain to us what it is that the machine is actually reading and picking up on. We were talking about frequencies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and this is part of the science behind.
What really drew me in is because I love science, and I love when something is backed by science because it helps me to understand it better.
Right.
And also feel more drawn towards it. It's easier to trust it. And it's all based on quantum physics, which is really cool to see, because quantum physics for me is a science that is starting to bridge the gap between spirituality and science itself.
Yes.
What the device actually does, the scanner, which looks very similar to an Apple Magic Mouse, a computer mouse. And it creates an energy field that replicates the energy field of a perfectly healthy individual. Now that person doesn't exist,
right?
But because there was about 40 years of research that went into all of the technology, we can generate an energy field that basically represents the optimal energy field.
Right.
And this energy field interacts, for instance, with your energy field. And by having your energy field and the other energy field interacting, we can see where there's discrepancies.
Right.
And those discrepancies are then the elements that will become a focal point for our assessment. So we can look exactly at what are the things that are currently out of balance energetically in a person, and how does that relate to their symptoms, for instance, and any conditions that they might be dealing with.
Right, yeah. The language that it's speaking to us is through emotions, beliefs, and states of being, physical
absolutely.
states of being. So what I understand then that you're saying is that even emotions that are nebulous and belief systems have different frequencies at which they vibrate. And we can identify those frequencies and then be able to determine if they're operating at peak efficiency.
Exactly, yeah.
That just blows my mind.
Yeah, it's incredible once we truly come to realize that everything in the universe is energy. And quantum physics is actually now proving this, that everything around us, in us, is energy. Therefore, everything has a frequency.
That's right.
And because everything has a frequency, even a rock or something that is not tangible, the scanner can pick it up, which is one of the most amazing things about this entire system.
Yeah.
It picks up the most subtle of energies. And then we can determine, is this energy imbalanced or out of balance? And how does that particular energy field relate to, for instance, all of the other energy fields of a human being? And what are the conclusions we can draw from that?
Well, that was my next question. What are the conclusions? So now we have a map, and it's like a spreadsheet, and it tells me that I'm deficient in vitamin B, that my belief around trust might need some work. So I've got all this now in front of me. Well, how do I work with it to heal the things that are showing up as being important for me to pay attention to?
Very, very good question. When we look at the assessment, there's obviously a lot of different elements that show up. But our focal point is, what are the patterns that we can see?
Okay.
Patterns everywhere in the universe allow us to understand things a lot better when we understand how different things are connected.
Right.
So whenever I have someone coming in and we do the assessment, we not only look at the items individually that are showing up, but how are they connected to one another? And what do these connections tell us? For instance, there might be someone coming in and their liver energy field is showing up. When we look at the emotional side of things, we also see that anger is showing up. Now, in traditional Chinese medicine, there is actually a particular emotion linked to a particular organ.
Right.
And anger happens to be the emotion that is directly linked to the liver, because the liver can be heavily affected by someone not being able to manage their anger, for instance.
Right.
And then we would have that as a clue, determining, okay, this person might be experiencing issues with their liver, but it's not so much the physical side that is actually the root cause. It is within the non-physical realm. So here we're looking at anger as an emotion. Then we can also look at what are the particular trauma themes that a person may have experienced sometime in their life, usually sometime in their childhood,
Right.
because that's when we're the most impressionable. And we can then determine what are the trauma themes that a person may have experienced that have caused them to feel angry a lot in their lives, or have disabled them from managing their anger quite well.
Right.
And that will then in turn tell a person a lot more than if they were just to go and see their GP, for instance. It would be a very different assessment
Yes.
to the standard assessments. And that would obviously then provide a lot of insight into what are the next steps. You know, what can a person actually do to resolve issues with the liver, for instance.
Right.
One of the most beautiful aspects about this entire system is it empowers the individual. The individual is no longer having to rely on any practitioner, really,
Right.
or on a particular form of medication that would target the liver, as an example. We could then inform the person, okay, these are the trauma that are still stuck. And when I say stuck, they energetically remain within the individual.
Yeah.
And then I would suggest a few different tools that a person can teach themselves on how to release and work through these trauma, for instance, to release the energy behind it. Because as you release the energy behind the trauma, you actually release the trauma, because the trauma is the energy. And that's the most beautiful thing. So you're actually starting to heal, or allow the person to heal themselves from the deepest level, from the core, and then see how the physical body will respond to it.
So do you take people through that process? It sounds like there's a counseling component to this.
There is certainly a counseling component to it, absolutely. And some of the tools that I love to suggest to clients, they either come in the form of a little booklet that they can download for free on the internet and then read through it and actually teach themselves the technique. Because I find it's so important that you actually do it yourself, even the teaching part, so that you feel comfortable when you start using it. Another technique might be a book that a person could read, or something that I could teach a person right there during the session that we're having.
Okay, like forms of meditation.
Forms of meditation, breathing exercises and so forth. Whatever I deem most appropriate for the person, or even what the person is resonating with the most. So there's always a few different options that I provide, and there's generally at least one of the items that a person will feel a very strong pull towards. And that's where really the intuitive component of all of this work comes in too.
Right.
Because, you know I'm using technology, but that does not mean that there is no intuitive component to all of this work. It's actually just being aided by using technology.
That's right. So the technology becomes the tool. And in a way, not that different than using an oracle card spread or a tarot card spread or cloud reading or tea reading to give you the information. Because even though it appears that it's coming out of the technology itself, you are the one who reads it intuitively and is able to go to those places with your clients that is best going to serve them in that moment. And then, as you say, that empowerment piece, which is an intuitive process, I believe, when we move into being empowered. We are learning how to trust ourselves.
Absolutely.
And our intuition is a big part of that.
Speaking about being intuitive.
Yes.
It's so important that we have tools that actually allow us to rediscover our intuition. And actually start to trust it again.
Exactly.
And I find with probably the majority of the clients that I see, they have been dealing with chronic conditions for quite a while. Sometimes for several decades, which is a very long period of time. And what I've seen is that when a person has been dealing with chronic conditions for a while, they lose trust in their own abilities.
Yes.
They start to doubt whether they will ever heal.
Yeah.
I've been there myself, and I know that it can sometimes bring you to very dark places. So a lot of the people that I see, they are no longer intuitive simply because they don't trust themselves anymore.
That's right. Yeah.
And when I then take them through the scan, which is really just the cold hard truth about what is going on within them, the computer software doesn't add anything to it. It simply just puts it in visual form, what their body is trying to tell them. So they start to see the connections too.
That's right.
And they start to become more intuitive through that process, because I'm simply bringing it back into their awareness. And that's a powerful tool in itself.
It's a very powerful tool. And you and I have talked about this a couple of times now, that we're both on the same page about empowering our clients.
Yes.
So that they don't keep coming back to see us.
Exactly, yeah.
Which might seem counterintuitive to running a business.
Yes.
Thanks for coming. Bye now. Don't see me again. It's something that I teach my students when they go through my healers course. Part of one of the components is, how do you show up as a healer running a business and reconcile the spiritual aspect of giving healing, which in our culture traditionally there's an attitude around you give it away for free, because it's that generosity that you were given a gift and you give it away. And I'm teaching my students to value the work that they do, to highly value the work that they do, because I know the value of that work, especially if it's in conjunction with mainstream medicine. If we can use both of these amazing streams of healing to benefit the client, that's the best thing that we could do for them. But even more importantly, if we educate our clients to take care of themselves better, it creates a ripple effect. And the people in their lives start to treat themselves better when they see someone they love taking these steps. It happens all the time, right? When that client is on their feet again and empowered and says their goodbye to us, and we pat them on the back and send them on their way, space opens up for the next client to show up.
Exactly.
Right? So it's never a situation of, I don't have any clients.
Yeah.
They're out there.
Certainly.
They're out there waiting, and they're waiting for the person who they're going to best be able to work with, that best fit.
Yes.
Right. So for those people who have a similar vibration to you, if we want to talk about frequency again, those are the people who are going to become your clients.
Absolutely.
Because they appreciate the process you're going to take them through.
Absolutely.
Using that technology.
Yeah.
Right.
And I find as practitioners, we also need to be aware, how obsessed are we with trying to reach new clients? Because as you said, they will come if we are vibrating at the right frequency.
That's
so
right.
we can actually start to actively attract them, but not even through marketing. It's a different form of marketing,
That's
because
right.
it's actually just our frequency that's
Frequency marketing.
Frequency marketing,
Ooh,
absolutely.
That would be a good name for a marketing company.
Yes, absolutely.
You heard
I
it here
agree.
first.
But for us as practitioners, it's so important to realize that we have this inner tool, and that we don't operate from a place of fear, because that would obviously lower our frequency quite drastically, and we would attract a very different group of people, or no people at all.
That's right. Yeah. And this could be a whole other show.
Oh, I know.
You're talking about, especially the way in which we attract wealth and money to her. And we were talking about this before we started the show. Somehow it's come full circle. That if we are not in right relationship with our self-worth and our deserving and our self-confidence, we're not going to be in right relationship with our abundance.
Yes.
And in our culture, abundance comes through the form of money. Money is the medium of exchange for services rendered. But it has such a charge for so many people. And for those of us who show up in the world just yearning to be of service, to help make a difference in someone else's lives, and that's our focus, the business side of things, we don't always look at, or it feels mundane. It's muggle world, I'm a healer, I don't need to deal with all of that. I'll just do this. But there has to be that the join between the practical, get a bank account, get yourself out there, get in front of people, let people know that you exist, figure out what your budget is, do all of that boring, high school taxation class, whatever, economic class stuff. Do it so that you can better serve your clients from the energetic place of that desire to be of service.
Absolutely.
That needs to be in place for that to happen.
Yeah, and I find you as the practitioner, you should make peace with it. So you lay it all out, you set it all up, so that, as you said, once it is all set up and completed, you can then fully focus on on what you actually want to achieve with your practice.
That's right. So would money issues show up somewhere in the scan?
That's a very good question. They would, and it's interesting because some of the results can obviously be interpreted in different ways. So I always have, when I'm sitting down with the client, I always have them be there with me throughout the entire process and actually share their hunches that they might have about the results that are showing up.
Right.
Because at that point, I only know so much about an individual. And there's obviously a very strong intuitive component to how I read the scans for every single person. It's imperative that the person sitting next to me also shares their hunches. And every now and then there might be, let's assume we're currently focusing on the trauma themes. And I'm laying out why this particular trauma theme is coming up for a person and how it might relate to different areas of their body. And all of a sudden the client might have a hunch about this too and go, oh my God, this is actually related to the issues that I used to have in my childhood, which nowadays result in me having a fear towards money and feeling that I may not be enough to deserve a lot of money in my life. So it is really this collaboration that I have with the client at the time, so that we can figure out, is there a lack, or is there an issue surrounding the whole theme of lack of abundance?
And what I appreciate about that approach is that, in a sense, you're facilitating their healing by gently leading them to a different perspective or a new way of thinking about their circumstances at a deeper level. They are truly the ones who are doing the healing, and that's why once that energy is dissipated from that trauma, the healing is complete because they've actually done the work themselves.
They've done all of the work.
Exactly. Right. So that's different than you telling them it's this, this, and this, which is what often happens in mainstream medicine. Doctor says it's this, this, and this. Patient goes away going, it's this, this, and this. And that's all that there is. Whereas when there's a conversation between practitioner and client, that's a brainstorming session.
It is. It really is.
And it re-empowers the client because now he or she is an active participant instead of being told what's going on.
And this component of not being told is what can make all the difference. So when I'm sitting down with the client, my role really just becomes to inspire. To inspire, to plant a little seed, and then simply just watch everything grow and see where the person takes it, how far the person takes it, and how quickly the person takes it from A to B.
Right.
And that's really beautiful for me to see too. And that's why I enjoy working with such a diverse field of people every day, because it's just beautiful to see how far people take it and how much people want to heal.
Yes.
And then how they realize that they are indeed good enough. They deserve truly everything that this universe has to offer.
Yeah.
And I'm just there, I'm just kickstarting things a little bit. And then it's all within their power, and they start to realize the immense power that they have. And
that's right.
It's truly, one session alone can be quite life-changing, and it certainly was for me, and it's just beautiful now to be able to inspire that in so many other people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that this is the work that you're doing, and I know that there's a whole story to how you got to be doing this work.
Yeah.
Every healer I've ever talked to, myself included, we've got that wake-up moment, that wake-up call, that realization that there must be another way to heal from whatever the thing is that was showing up. What was showing up for you that needed healing?
It all started in my early 20s. I literally woke up one morning while I was living in Australia, and I had pain in my left hip. And throughout my 20s, I was very actively engaged in traveling. So having had an experience with chronic pain was a rather scary and very inconvenient experience.
Yes.
So I woke up one morning and I had pain in my left hip. And there was a little voice in me that went, this is not just going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously in your early 20s, that's not something you want to hear about. So I just tried to push through it and just ignore it. Exactly.
Yep.
So I ignored it for literally several years until it moved into my right hip and my lower back, and I started to experience chronic pain really slowly but steadily spreading throughout the entire body. So I started to see people in the Western medical world, and I started to see different experts because I wanted, the best opinions to really figure out what is going on with me. Unfortunately, all I received was one scary diagnosis after another.
Yeah.
And someone in their mid-20s at that point, you don't want to hear about ankylosing spondylitis, that your spine might fuse up and then become as brittle as an old stick of bamboo. And so it was a really, really difficult and scary time. And it actually just added to this tendency of mine to live in denial. So I continued living in denial for a while. And it wasn't really until I moved to Hong Kong where I started to consider looking at other medical systems. And there I started to look into traditional Chinese medicine. I thought, okay, I'll give this a try.
Right.
So I tried the herbs, drank the teas, acupuncture, acupressure, and some other crazy modalities where they basically use proper fire to heat up certain areas of your body, so it kind of looks like that part of your body is on fire. And it was
wow,
lots of interesting experiences.
Yeah.
And some brought temporary relief, but nothing brought the relief and the healing that I had hoped for.
Right.
So my journey just continued, and at that point I became really eager to truly find the root cause. And the beautiful thing about traditional Chinese medicine is it is based on this aspect of that we are energy, we are frequency, we vibrate at different frequencies. And one day it just dawned on me that, we are energy.
Right.
And I still remember the day years ago because it had such a profound impact on me. And it was like a paradigm shift. I really noticed it in my head, how I approached everything, how I looked at myself and how I looked at my healing journey and my inability to heal at that point. So I thought, you know what, I've always been interested in physics ever since high school. So why don't I just dive a little deeper into this whole aspect of energy medicine, and quantum physics? And I never stopped. It was so beautiful to start to realize myself as more as just a physical body that up until then I had been trying to treat with everything I could imagine.
Right.
And that's when I realized, wow, I'm so much more.
Yeah.
And I tried different modalities, focusing on energy medicine, using different assessment tools, until one day I came across the system that I'm using today. And that system helped me so much in so many different ways, because the system not only focuses on the physical body, but also the emotional and the spiritual side of healing. So it spoke to me, and this holistic aspect of now incorporating everything, mind, body, soul, that was the most profound shift in my healing journey. And the more I started realizing how good it was for me and how much it helped me heal, the more I had this desire to share it. And I think that's a very common story, or component of a healer's story. And at some point I just thought, I want to share this with people. So then I started to study it and practice it full time, and it's just been a life-changing experience ever since.
And we are so fortunate to have you in Victoria.
Yeah, exactly.
Because now everybody in Victoria can benefit.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let us know how people can find out about you, learn more about the work that you do, and get in touch with you so they can set up an appointment.
Yeah, absolutely. The easiest way to get in touch with me is via my website, www.aeon.health. That's eon.health. And also Instagram. Same handle, so it's at aeon.health. And that's usually the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Okay, great. So website or through your Instagram account. Awesome.
Exactly.
Well, I just think it's amazing the work that you're doing, and I'm looking forward to coming in for my next session at some
absolutely.
point. Yeah, and I wanted to throw a plug out there, because we've been talking about money and money wounding as part of our conversation today. I have an 8-week course that starts in January called the 8 Power Steps to Becoming a Master Manifestor.
Oh, beautiful.
Online, and it's based off of my teachings over the last many years, and especially from when I worked at the bank, believe it or not.
Wow, you worked at a bank.
2 banks. Yes, I was a teller, and then I moved all the way up into having my own office. Wow. But you know what I loved the most about it? Was helping people with their money. Yeah. Helping them get out of debt, helping them reach their financial goals. Beautiful. It was that being of service piece. Yeah. And from that, I learned an awful lot about myself and my own relationship with money. So these 8 power steps come out of that work, that process. Mm-hmm. And the first part of the program is about clearing out those core limiting beliefs. Yeah. Yeah. So if this is something that's resonating for you, make sure you check out the link below and head over to the landing page on my website and get signed up for January. And you can be in your pajamas.
That's the best part.
Right, one live class a week, and then we're on the Facebook group in behind the scenes and working through the issues that show up for people, and then another live class.
That's amazing. All about self-empowerment.
All about self-empowerment and deserving and manifesting and doing it in a way that heals the wounds that are preventing the person from having these experiences in their life. Yes, it's those tools again.
It is.
The empowerment piece.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, keep doing the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us today on Magic, Medicine, and Mystery. Nope. Magic, Mystery, and Medicine. 3M, the 3 M's. And if you want to stay on top of these episodes and the other videos that we put out on a regular basis, make sure you subscribe so you're the first to know when we put out a new video. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
And scene.
That'd be pretty cool. Like a dinosaur appearing in the background.
And I'll reinforce that with supers across the bottom.
Okay. And a dinosaur.
And a dinosaur.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
You have to make mention of that so I can... and a dinosaur. And I'll have a...